Joining us now, good friend of mine, good friend of the show's, and also a long-term sponsor of us, and we thank him for that, is State Senator Democrat from Fairfax, Chap Petersen. We often do our Boys Are Back in Town roundtable from Chap Petersen's world headquarters in downtown Fairfax City. Great guy. Unfortunately, he is a hapless Washington Redskins fan, but we'll not talk about that right now. We got a lot to go over. Senator Petersen, great to have you with us, sir.
John, thanks for having me. I'm speaking from my desk in the state capitol. Great to be on.
Okay, we're fired up. We got a lot to go over. It's going to be rapid fire. I want to start. I'm very excited about the one bill that you put through, common sense legislation. So everybody knows the number. It's SB15-93. And you introduce your bill. And basically what it is, and I'll let you explain it, but just overview for my listeners, it's just you're saying that a regulated Virginia monopoly, this is a monopoly that the government has said, okay, you could be a monopoly. Right. Well, that monopoly, you say, look, if you're a regulated monopoly, you can't then donate money to legislators because you're a regulated monopoly by those legislators. Right? Tell us where you are with this.
Well, that's exactly what it is. We have what are called public service corporations in Virginia, which are gas utilities, electric utilities, railroads, gas companies, and the bottom line is they have a monopoly. There's limited resources. They provide it. They do a great job. I'm proud of the great job that they do. But they also need to be regulated because every single person has to use or has to have access to their product, and they could charge whatever they want, and therefore we regulate them. But the problem is they donate millions, and I mean millions, to the Assembly in order to change those regulations.
So think about this, all right? So you take Dominion or you take any of these other, there's a couple of them out there. I know you mentioned Dominion Appalachian Power,
right.
Probably, one of the best examples. This is an electric companies that the government has said, okay, you don't have to compete with anybody. You're a monopoly. They regulate rates. And, Frank Wagner had his big bill that I didn't think was a good idea, but that went through to freeze rates, but you don't do an audit. But what's happening is they're then giving, right? They're then donating millions of dollars into legislators' campaigns that are then affecting them. I mean, is this not just common sense?
Right. And just to put to a very plain point on it for your listeners, John, and that is basically legislators will make deals with utilities for certain projects and things like that, but when they do so, you're throwing the ratepayers under the bus because you're basically saying, we're going to let you charge rates above the market, above what you should, in order to make a deal with you, in order to get a special project with you. And it's wrong. It's not how a democracy should work.
Look, it's totally wrong. And it's one thing to have the monopoly. Everybody gets the reason behind it. And then we can debate the regulation of it. I mean, last year, just overview so my listeners know, Senator Frank Wagner, Republican running for governor, had a big initiative which said, look, we're going to freeze rates at a certain level for a certain amount of time. I think it was 7 or 10 years, so people can plan. And they might go up or down, but we're going to freeze them. In return for that, we're not going to do any audits, which means that if you're overcharged, too bad, they get to keep the money. You could debate that one way or the other. There were pros and cons on each end. I was not in favor of that, but there's pros and cons on each end. On the other hand, when they're allowed to give millions of dollars to the members of the General Assembly, people running for governor, that's going to impact them. I mean, that's part of what people are upset about when they talk about draining the swamp. Am I right?
You're exactly right, John. And I think, look, if we can take anything away from the 2016 election, whether we're Republicans or Democrats, is that people are tired of the same old folks having access to government and manipulating the laws to benefit themselves and basically giving ordinary people the shaft. People are tired of it.
They are. Now, just so everybody knows, Chap Petersen's campaign finance reform bill, which addresses this, is going to be heard in Senate Privileges and Elections Committee. That's going to be Tuesday, right, January 31st at 4 p.m.
Right.
I'm going to be there. senators that are on the committee, just so you know, you might want to email them or call them. Maybe that's your senator on the committee, Jill Vogel. She's the chairman running for lieutenant governor, right? This is a populist issue in my mind. Jill Vogel, Senator Howell,
right.
Janet Howell, Cray Deeds, John Edwards, Roanoke, Bryce Reeves running for lieutenant governor,
right.
Adam Eben, Ben Chafin, Southwest Virginia, Senator Bill DeSteff, Amanda Chase, Senator Ruff, John Cosgrove, Rosalind Dance, Lionel Sproul, and brand new state senator Mark Peake. I can't wait to be at this meeting.
It's going to be fun, isn't it? I can't wait either.
I got this.
It's gonna be so much
I got to
fun.
tell you, Chap, I got this thing circled on my calendar. I don't care if the Trump administration calls me up and says, you come to the White House at 3 p.m. on the 31st. I wouldn't miss this. I mean, I'm bringing popcorn, right?
Yeah, no, I think, bring your Drain the Swamp signs, and it's going to be fun. I'll have a press conference afterwards, up or down. But the bottom line is, look, I got to shine a light on this issue, John, and I realize that I'm probably precluding myself from ever being the most popular guy in this building or popular at all. But, hey, sometimes you got to shake it up.
Well, you know what? You're popular with the people, and that's what matters, right? That's what matters. And, look, bringing this thing forward, Chap, this took some testosterone, no question about it, and we appreciate that. But, and the thing is, you're going to have the hearing. These are the things that they silently die. There's a hand vote. I mean, there's a voice vote and they die. You're not going to let that happen, right? I mean, people are going to have to go on the record here.
Yeah, we're going to put them on the record, and obviously, I'll have my trusty staff there, Alex, my political director, and, hopefully get some news outlets to cover it. And, I hope that people will contact their legislators, their senators, and delegates, and say, "Look, we're watching this, and you may lose a donation here and there that you may have otherwise gotten, but at the end of the day, this is the right thing to do. These companies should not be donating to politicians that regulate them. Period."
I should find a way to cover this live. I mean, just live on the radio, right? That would be a lot of fun because look, you got two people running for statewide office. You got one senator that's brand new, been in there a week. It's going to be fun to see where these people come down on this, and it's going to be a very electrified debate. And I'm going to call Tommy and see if I can get that worked out, but that might be interesting. I might need your help on that. Look, transparency, right? This is the government of the people, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm happy to say that I'm back in broadcasting from from the General Assembly after we got that worked out. Okay. Chap, if I can, I'm going to just go over some bills quickly,
Sure.
How we do rapid fire, and you just give me your quick analysis of it.
Sure.
Very fast. Okay, let's start with my second favorite bill, Dave Valbo's bill. It's in the House, being sponsored by Bill Stanley in the Senate, which is the Free My Ticket bill, which means that if I want to buy a ticket and I want a paper ticket, I can ask for it to be paper, whether it's the Redskins or a concert or Wizards basketball. I can get a ticket, and I don't have to go resale it back through the monopolists, Ticketmaster and Live Nation, who are trying to screw people in this whole thing. Obviously, you know where I stand on it.
Right.
How do you stand on that?
Sounds good to me. Sure. Free market. Do it.
Okay. So if I want to buy a ticket and I want a paper ticket and then I want to go sell it on eBay, you're going to allow me to do that, right?
I've never understood the limitation on that, except if you're going to sell it to a Cowboys fan. Then I may have to draw the line.
Okay. Look, that would be an amendment. I think that would be fine. Okay. Adam Eben brings up a bill. As you know, gay marriage now passed the Supreme Court. It's still on the book in Virginia. Your colleague Adam Eben says, it's time to just get rid of this thing. Republicans resisting. What's the deal here? Aren't we beyond this now?
Yeah, I think this issue is pretty settled at this point. Gay marriage is here to stay. If you don't like it, then don't go to the wedding. But the bottom line is, I think it's here, so I support Adam's bill.
Okay, Republicans want a big salary boost for state police. They have all these information saying that we're losing our troopers because they're underpaid on a scale with other states. So they come in, they get the training, and then they leave to go to North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, etc. Are you in favor of increasing starting pay for troopers from the current $36,300 to $43,000?
I'm going to say tentatively yes. Obviously, we need to find out where the money's coming from. I do support a pay raise for state employees across the board. I mean, it's been a while, so I hope we can. I expect we can get that done this year.
Okay. After Tim Kaine's vice presidential run, some Virginia lawmakers want to consider stripping the governor's power to fill Senate. This is not state Senate,
right?
Which they don't have. United States Senate vacancies, so we don't have this kind of trading going on like we did with the whole Bobby Scott thing, and it just didn't feel good to people. And what this legislation says is, just like in the General Assembly, you have a vacancy, you set a special election date, each party figures out how to pick their nominees. That's up to them, state not involved in it. Then you have a special, and you elect somebody. And like in the General Assembly, the governor has a certain amount of time, a certain range to those in charge. I guess Howell and Tommy now have a certain amount of leeway. They have to pick a date within a certain amount of time.
Right.
But this, what Republican, Democrat, it strips that away from the governor being able to say, look, I'm going to put Bobby Scott there, or I'm going to put me there, and they have to run and win. How do you stand on that?
I need to think that through, John. I don't have a snap answer for you. My instinct would be that it sounds reasonable, but there may be reasons that you want to treat U.S. Senate different, that you don't want to have it unrepresented for a period of time. I don't have a major opinion either way. Maybe have a 3-point shooting contest or something like that, some easy way to break the tie.
Okay, Republicans also pushing a bill in both houses which would end the winner-take-all electoral vote system in Virginia. Now, obviously, Virginia's gone for the Democratic candidate for president, 08, 12, 16.
Right.
That trend likely to continue. So now what Republicans are saying is, look, the hell with that. We're losing. That stinks. That was good when we were winning, but now we're losing. So that's a bad thing. So let's go to the way of Nebraska and Maine and allocate the electoral votes along congressional district lines. So if you win the state, you get 3, I think, and then the other votes are allocated by congressional districts. So if 2020, if Trump wins the 9th district, Morgan Griffiths, which he will, 5-1, or he'll get 82%. Well, that vote goes to Trump, and then if the Democratic candidate wins Don Byers' district, well, that one goes to them, and so it's an allocation. How do you stand on that?
The only way I would vote for that bill, and I'm not going to vote for it now, is that you would have congressional districts that roughly matched the composition of the state, and we don't have that. So you would have to have a congressional district where I could say, the two parties are evenly matched, or the majority party has a slight edge. But the congressional districts would have to reflect the state as a whole, and they definitely do not.
Very logical argument, right? Looks like you can't have it both ways, right?
Yes, sir.
Coupled with the fact that I kind of like the winner-take-all, even though we're going to continue to lose it. But when the Republicans were winning it, nobody came up with this idea. So
right. Well, the funny
politics,
thing is,
right?
I actually had this legislation in 2002. I was a new delegate, and I had the Democrats hadn't won in years in Virginia, and I had a constituent ask me to put it in the bill, and at the last second I backed out and had Jim Scott put it in for me. So I don't bash people that propose this idea, okay? Because there is some merit to it, but again, we'd have to have congressional districts that roughly match the composition of the state.
Rapid fire on the floor with, in his office at the General Assembly, Democratic Senator Chap Petersen, Fairfax. Bipartisan agreement now reached on reducing the time for suspended driver's license. As you know, you get caught with marijuana or something bad like that, you get your driver's license suspended, costs you a lot of money, bad things happen, can't get to work, can't get to school. Movement underfoot to say, let's kind of ease this a little bit. What do you think?
This is a big issue to me, John. There's so many people out there that are convicted of misdemeanors. Let's say it's a reckless driving. Let's say it's an assault and battery. And it's a misdemeanor. They're not imprisoned. They're not locked away. but there could be hundreds of dollars, maybe over $1,000 in court costs and fines, and they don't have the cash to pay it, or they're, just not organized enough to pay it for whatever reason, and so their license is then suspended. So now they're driving on a suspended. They get picked up for driving on a suspended. Now they're doing 30 days in jail, and they have no license, which means they can't work. And it becomes a downward spiral, which may have, again, been initiated by a relatively minor traffic offense like a reckless or something of that nature. And it has a real cost.
You do something wrong, you can't pay the fine, you need a job to pay the fine, to save the money to pay the fine. They suspend your license because you don't pay the fine. You lose your job. Now you drive with a suspended license. Now you go in jail for 30 days. Insane. This is insanity. Okay?
Yeah.
It's insane. Insane. That thing has got to go. I'm with you on that. Okay, Tommy Norman says he's had enough of B&B because he represents Williamsburg. I'm not a B&B fan, as you know, because they really don't pay the fair share like the hotels do. Tommy Norman says, I've had enough. All talk, no action. I'm going to fine you guys if you don't play by everybody else's rules. How do you stand on that?
Well, I have my own thoughts on Airbnb. I've got to look
Go
at
ahead.
Tommy's bill, but my thoughts are Airbnb needs to be treated like any other business. In other words, if you're going to rent out your house and use it for a business, you've got to be subject to the rules of business, including paying tax and having certain standards. And if you're in a residential area, and listen, I have a place in Northern Virginia. I'm going to have a place in Virginia Beach, God willing, if I can get that deal done. And if my neighbor is operating a place where I got 12 kids on spring break, and it's interfering with my use of my property, I'm going to have a problem with that. And that's an Airbnb issue, and no one's cleared it up, at least for me yet.
Well, look, I stand with you on that. Everybody's got to play by the same rules, or the government is picking winners and losers, and Airbnb has gotten away with this, Senator Petersen, because, and they basically, the whole attitude of the company is unbelievably cavalier. I mean, they let ads go in Richmond that's banned them. I mean, they just don't care.
Yeah.
And they're making a lot of money off it. And if somebody buys a hotel or they're a franchise owner, they got to pay all the fees, pay all the taxes, do all the things the right way, and they're getting screwed. And so, to me, you got to even the playing field on it. But look, I'm old school. I don't stay in Airbnb. I like to support the hoteliers in the area. Best 20 minutes on the radio, Chap Petersen, rapid fire. You know, you're one of the only people that can actually engage in this in your office because you know all this stuff. You're willing to go on the record.
It's great to be on. Congrats on all you've accomplished in the past year. It's been fun being a part of it. And I got to run to committee at 8:30, but all you listeners out there, thanks for doing what you do. Keeping us great. Take care.
All right, Chap Petersen.